Dan Buscher joins us, though, right now. He's a candidate for 10th District Court, and it's been a while. Dan, good morning. It's nice to see you again.
Good morning. How are you, sir?
I am doing great. We had your opponent on the air earlier this week, and, equal time. We want to hear from everybody as much as we can. There's a pretty good race between you and Tracy Tomac for the 10th District Court. There's a pretty good race in the 63rd or 62nd District in the State House. And other than that, and well, the big race is governor and all that stuff. But,
Sure.
you guys have a pretty big race. Have you been getting out and pounding the pavement very much?
Been pounding the pavement since last October, hitting all the city, the township meetings, going to various social groups. I've been hitting the various churches, one church every Sunday now for weeks. County's a big place, but when you go to these various places, it's the same thing I find. There are good people in Calhoun County, good families, and it's been a great experience.
Now, speaking of experience, that segues right into where I wanted to go. That's kind of your campaign slogan, experience matters.
Yes, sir. And it's not just the years, because I've been practicing for about 32 years now. It's actually the type of experience, the amount of the experience, and it's the relationships I've established all over the years that I believe make a difference in this particular race.
Now, you've been a prosecutor or assistant prosecutor for how long now, Calhoun County?
I've been in the prosecutor's office about 24 years, 13 of those as a chief assistant.
Mm-hmm. And in between there, you actually had private practice some.
Private practice beforehand, and another 4-year gap where I ran a law firm in Battle Creek. We did general practice work for another almost 5 years, I believe.
Oh, and with Dan Downing?
Yes, sir. Total of 8 years in private practice.
Oh, okay. So that's a fair amount. When we talked with Tracy, I think she said that you didn't have a lot of private practice, that it was all on the prosecutor side.
No, 8 out of 24 in private practice, general practice, criminal defense, general civil. I did some federal bankruptcy work. When you're in private practice, you do what you can to pay the bills, but you meet a lot of good people along the way.
Well, one of the things that we talked about, I had read that you estimate you've been in 60 criminal trials.
Actually, probably closer to 200 circuit court jury trials. I've handled over 50 homicide trials, and I believe the last one I completed a few months ago was either my 44th or 45th murder trial, and that's jury trials, 2 verdict.
I think maybe what I confused it with was homicide trials. I mean,
it's over 50.
Yeah, over 50 homicide trials and the 200 criminal cases. That is a lot of experience. I know that your opponent has, as we talked, just a handful of criminal trials.
That's this jury trial experience. When you're not in trials, you're back in district court. And in this stage of my career, I do mostly preliminary exams on felonies. You're doing another 15 to 18 a day, 3 times a week for 24 years. The numbers add up pretty quickly, but that's where you cut your teeth. You cut your teeth in court doing those hearings on a daily basis.
Well, we hear circuit court, we hear district court, family court, all these different courts, juvenile court, and it probably doesn't register for most of us how it works. I asked your opponent to kind of explain that, and I think I'll ask you, what is the district court? What's its function? How does that compare to circuit court?
District court, we like to call the people's court. It's where all criminal matters start. Every criminal case starts in district court. People are arraigned in district court. Landlord-tenant cases, code compliance hearings, civil cases that the amount requested is less than $25,000. But you see the vast majority of the people in district court. In circuit court, they do the actual felony trials there. Civil cases where the amount requested is more than $25,000. They also do divorce cases, custody cases. Judge Yost and Judge Kirkham do probate, NA, abuse and neglect type cases. Judge Jacknet does guardianship type cases. But it's a people's court. I think last year the 4 district court judges divided up about 42,000 cases amongst themselves. there's a possibility within a year or two that we may lose one of those judges. So it's going to be a heavy load, whoever wins this coming November.
Well, and I talked with a retired judge. I said, well, how busy is the district court? And they told me, well, on a Monday morning, you could see 100 cases before you.
On a typical day, you could have 50 landlord-tenant cases in the morning. You could have 15 to 18 felony cases in the afternoon. So it's a fast-moving place.
And am I right in saying that it's kind of the district court's job to streamline the whole system so that it all flows and works right?
You know, I've never heard of it that way, but that's an interesting way to put it. District court gets the ball rolling on a lot of different type cases. We do the arraignments, preliminary exam conferences, preliminary examinations, a lot of the landlord-tenant cases, small claims. You're involved with a lot of people in a quick, short amount of time. I believe they handle more cases than the circuit court judges do. Not to say anything negative about that, but it's a fast-moving, litigant-intensive environment in district court.
And when you're determining at arraignments, you're weighing evidence to decide if there's enough to move forward with trial, right?
Arraignments, you're just setting bonds. You look at what the person's charged with, what their prior criminal history is. Is it assaultive offense? You look at the safety of the victim, safety of society, flight risks, things like that. Preliminary examinations is the probable cause hearing to determine whether or not a case would be moved up to the circuit court level for the actual jury or bench trial. And the standard of those cases is, is there enough to move the case forward? You could have one of those every 15 minutes to half an hour, so you better be prepared. Better know what the standard of law is, better know what the elements are, know what the objections and responses are. You don't get a lot of time. You don't get too many do-overs in district court. You better get it right, because everyone's rights can be affected. Victims' rights, defendants' rights, litigants' rights in general. You got to get it right the first time.
Dan Buscher is running for the 10th District Court, and he is with us here. I happened to notice I couldn't help but notice a few endorsements that you've gotten from both current judges and retired judges, and it strikes me that they don't always step out and endorse people. These are nonpartisan races. Am I right?
This is about the first time since I've been here over 30 years that I can recall current sitting retired judges actually coming out and support someone. Generally, they take a hands-off approach. After speaking with some of them, they inform me that with the possibility of losing the judge, the size of the docket, the type of case that's involved, it was important for them to come out this particular time and endorse me.
Because your experience, they feel, will be extremely valuable in handling that high workload and making sure that mistakes aren't made.
The experience, they tell me that my demeanor, my temperament, I've had a working relationship with these judges for over 30 years. They've seen me on a daily basis. They know the quality of my work, and they felt it was important to have someone who could handle the load, do the right, do the fair and impartial thing for the upcoming 6 years.
So what judges have endorsed you?
Right now I have Chief Judge Michael Jaconet, Chief Judge Pro Tem John Halsey, Circuit Court Judge Chena Yost Johnson, Chief District Court Judge Franklin Kaline Jr., District Court Judge Sam Durham, District Court Judge Paul Beardsley, and retired judges Gary Reed and Conrad Sent all come up and publicly endorsed me.
Wow, it's a pretty good list. Now, when I brought that up with your opponent, she mentioned that, well, it's because you're buddies with all these people.
Most of them are friends of mine now, but I've had a working relationship with them for over 30 years. That's turned into a friendship. It's a matter of trust, experience, reliability, competency, and they felt comfortable enough based on all those factors to step forward and endorse me.
Why, besides the experience, what do you bring to the Why should you be the 10th District Judge, Dan Buscher?
The biggest difference is the experience. You can't afford to make mistakes in district court. People's lives are affected. In addition to my experience, I took a keen interest in all diversion courts when we started a women's drug court way back in, I believe it was 2003. District court judges, which have cross jurisdiction and can do some equitable things as far as the drug courts are concerned, can positively affect the people in these diversion courts. It's so rewarding to see women and men and family being united. Currently, I've been working with Judge Lyon in Veterans Treatment Court, and you see some of our veterans come back with polysubstance, mental health issues, nowhere to live, can barely survive, and we can make a positive impact not only on their lives, but what we've seen, and there's a similar analogy to domestic violence, is it's the pebble in the pond. When we help these people out, we're positively affecting their family and generations after them. It's very rewarding. I have a keen interest in them, and I truly believe we're making a positive impact in our community.
There's really no place anymore in our court system for the old hard line hanging judge, law and order type. I mean, that's important too, but we've got to think of new ways, like what you were just talking about, to try and take the pressure off the system and stop repeat offenders and help people get on to productive lives.
There are people still need to be held accountable for their actions, but when we look at diversion court participants, we have to figure out why they're there. What are the underlying issues? Do they have a substance abuse issue? Has anyone helped them break the cycle? Can we help them break the cycle? But ultimately, we're still holding them responsibility through community service, fines and costs. Occasionally they get sanctioned. But how can we treat the person as a whole so they don't become repeat offenders and they become productive members of society again, which is what we all want. Take care of yourself, take care of your family.
Mm-hmm. You kind of alluded to some of this earlier, but can you give us kind of a nuts and bolts example of where experience matters in making sure that things are done right in a district court trial?
Experience, relationships, just seeing the various types of cases over the years, over the thousands of felonies that I've seen. I've seen every type of crime that unfortunately can occur from one person against another. You see the motions that are brought, the motions that the prosecution brings. What are the evidentiary objections to those? What's the proper standard? What are the predicate foundational issues for these things? What's a prima facie proof that must be shown to get certain things in? And unless you've been in the trenches on a day-to-day basis, you're not going to know those. You're not going to know how to respond. You can't adequately make the proper decision if you don't have the things you need in front of you. And that's where the experience really comes into play.
Dan Buscher, candidate for 10th District Court. Thanks for joining us here this morning on WBCK. I have a feeling we'll try to squeeze you and your opponent back in one more time before the election.
Thank you, sir.
All right.